Holy City Center Radio. It is episode 75, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is Monday, January 23rd, 2023. I hope you all had a great weekend. Mine was pretty quiet. We're not going to talk about football anymore. Nothing happened this weekend that was upsetting to me at all. So we're just going to move right past that. Other than that, before the my last episode, I actually before it was published, I should say, I did go out to Harold's cabin and didn't talk about in the last episode. I'd recorded it before it, but anyway, I'd actually never been there before, but they had the upstairs area of Harold's cabin. They've been doing some pop-ups over the holidays, and they decided to reopen that area as a concept called the Pickled Beet, and it was pretty cool. I'd never been to Harold's cabin. Like I said, it really does feel like a cabin in there. It's cozy. It's not a very big space at all. It has like some fun decor on the walls and the furniture. It really does feel like you're in a cabin, like in the woods somewhere. It's pretty nice. Um, so the downstairs area is the same. They're not changing anything. It's just the upstairs area. They just have this new concept up there, just trying to have a different vibe. Still cozy, but a little funky too, which is nice. And yeah, so they had a media event where they invited some different folks from different outlets and things. So I was able to see some friends, and uh, it was a nice visit with some folks I hadn't seen in a while. And yeah, the space was pretty cool. I definitely recommend you all check it out. They're going to have like a specialty menu up there too, a couple different food options and drinks, and they're going to play around a little bit and have some different things. So, yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. My first trip there, and I'm enjoying the new concept upstairs. Even though I don't know, I hadn't been there before. I don't know, how it was beforehand, but I definitely am enjoying what they've transitioned it to. So that's really it. Pretty quiet weekend otherwise, and I hope yours was more eventful, but was very good as well. So moving on, let's get to the top stories. All right, Southern Charm. We haven't talked about this show in a while, but it is coming back for a new season. And when that happens, different details start to trickle out. So, for those of you who somehow don't know, Southern Charm is a reality television series that's filmed here in Charleston. I believe the season they're about to start. It's going to be their ninth season, believe it or not. It's been on Bravo for a long, long time. It follows around, a group of mostly young people in the Charleston area, and going through all their drama and whatnot. So that's the gist of it. And the cast is changed over the years. They still have some folks that have been there from the beginning, but um, that's like I said, that's kind of the gist. That's all you really need to know about it if you didn't already. But some off-screen drama as Kathryn Dennis, who had been with the show since the beginning. I believe she was just a guest on the first season, but became a full-time cast member. She was always bringing the drama on the show, that's for sure, and outside the show as well. But apparently, some of her behavior led to her not being renewed by Bravo. So she still may be on Southern Charm as like a guest, popping up here and there, if at all. But she is no longer an official cast member. As I said, they did not renew her contract, and the reported reason is due to her behavior on set, which included repeated no-shows and just not treating staff very well. So, what do you do when you are unemployed? And you really don't have anywhere else to turn? Well, you do what a lot of people did during the pandemic, and that is join OnlyFans. That's right. Kathryn Dennis has joined that platform, which there's all sorts of different things that could be on that platform, but it's mostly known for adult content. No word yet on what exactly Dennis is going to be doing on that site. Because again, even though it's known for adult content, really anybody can be on there. There's comedians on there. You pay like a monthly fee, or you subscribe to profiles and whatnot. It's kind of like Patreon in that sense, and you get something in return, some kind of content. So like I said, there's comedians on there who will share jokes or live sets or whatever. There's artists who will show their work on there, but it has become by and large known for adult content. So quite the change. Although I guess maybe not from reality TV to OnlyFans. There's plenty that do that. But yeah, no word yet on what exactly Dennis will be doing on that platform. But yeah, when you have been let go from your job and you're trying to make some cash, that's what some other folks have done. So there you go. All right, moving on to much more serious news. Let's talk about some things that are going on legislatively here in South Carolina. We've talked about this before in past episodes. This has been an ongoing issue, but the death penalty in South Carolina, have been unable to carry out any executions because they were unable to secure any of the drugs needed for lethal injection. And although South Carolina also has the electric chair. For those who don't remember this whole story, is that South Carolina law says that whoever's on death row has to choose between the electric chair or lethal injection. Well, when there's no lethal injection drugs, there is no choice, and so the state has been unable to go through with any executions because the prisoners would just not choose anything because there isn't a choice. But as we discussed in the past, man, this state with all, that is just full of pro-life people just wants to kill people so bad. They just can't stand it that they can't kill people. So you may remember last year they quickly tried to get another option available. So they added the firing squad. That's right. A firing squad was added as an option for execution. So now there is a choice between the electric chair or the firing squad. No surprise. A lawsuit followed, and it's been held up. And so far, no executions have gone through. But man, our senators in the state, they just want to kill people so badly. They advanced a bill to resume executions by allowing drug suppliers to be shielded. So here's what's going on. Legislation that would enable executions to resume by lethal injection is advancing in the South Carolina Senate as lawmakers are awaiting a ruling on whether death by firing squad or electrocution is constitutional. So this so-called shield law was sent over on January 19th to the full Senate Corrections Committee. And what it would do basically is keep secret how the state prison agencies secure drugs needed to execute death row inmates by lethal injection. State law already protects the identities of the employees carrying out executions, but this bill would extend that to those making, compounding, or selling the drugs used for that lethal cocktail. So the assumption here is that promising companies and pharmacists that they would be shielded from any public blowback, because they're supplying drugs. And this is exactly what's been going on. Is that because this wasn't in place, a lot of these drug companies were refusing to make or sell the drugs needed for lethal injection. So South Carolina is hoping that by shielding them and protecting them from the public finding out who they are, that they'll start supplying the drugs again. So that's where that bill's at right now. As I said, South Carolina just really really wants to murder people really really badly. I mean, look, this is the second thing they're trying since the first holdup. They just can't stand it. For those wondering, there are currently 35 men on South Carolina's list of condemned inmates that are on death row. All right. Staying in the legislative arena, a group of state legislatures and LGBTQ advocates have announced two pieces of legislation meant to counter a string of recent laws that they say are discriminatory and harmful to parents and children. Dozens of members of a group called South Carolina United for Justice and Equality hosted a press conference at the State House on January 19th, where they denounced 22 measures that have already gone through the legislature in the past year, centering on healthcare, school curriculum, identity documents, and local business in relation to LGBTQ individuals. For instance, legislatures introduced a Senate bill on January 10th that would prohibit people under the age of 21 from receiving gender transition medical care. And, because we talked about these in past episodes as well, all these measures going through, trying to be pushed through the legislature, schools, people protesting, teaching of anything related to LGBTQ people. There's all sorts of discrimination and just really awful legislation that's trying to be pushed through. And so there are some groups that are pushing back and hoping that, just like last year, they can prevent a lot of these bills from going through. And just to kind of show that the cruelty is the point with a lot of these bills, there was another law that was introduced on January 11th that would require state marriage certificates to have the signature of both a bride and a groom, which obviously, based on that wording, could potentially exclude anybody who's non binary or anyone who is having a same sex union. So why? What is the point of that legislation besides trying to exclude people? That's all that there is, and it's disgusting, of course. And so there's all sorts of these different bills going through, and hopefully groups like the South Carolina United for Justice and Equality will be able to continue preventing some of these things from passing. Like I said, a lot of it's just discriminatory. There's really no basis for any of these proposals otherwise. You can't look at these things and glean anything else from it. You can't. Well, I mean, maybe it'll have an unintended consequence. No, that is that's the intended consequence. That's what's going on. So, we'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted on bills as they go through, and if any of these measures to prohibit them from going through do work. All right, at the top of the show, I talked about Southern Charm, which is drama. People love to watch it. Well, people also love true crime, and people love court cases, and you already know where this is going. The Alex Murdaugh murder trial is about to get underway, and local media, national media, and really everyone across the country is foaming at the mouth to see how this trial plays out and what comes out in the trial. So, if you are interested, the trial does begin today, and it is taking place in Colleton County. There's expected to be all sorts of coverage all around. For those who don't know, he is currently, or he will be on trial today, starting today, for the murders of his wife and his youngest son. There's all sorts. If you paid any attention to this story, there's so much more to it than just the murders. Obviously, that is the most horrific thing involved, allegedly, of course, with Alex Murdaugh, but all sorts of other crimes, financially, mostly financial crimes have also taken place. And I mean, this thing is it's bonkers, and it's going to be crazy at this trial, I'm sure. So anyway, starting today, you'll be able to see. I'm sure you'll be able to catch it on news coverages all around. But one local station, News 2 WCBD, did post that they will be live streaming from inside the courtroom each day. You'll be able to watch that live stream on their website, or if you have their app on your phone, you can do it on there as well. I'm sure other local stations will be doing the same. News 2 was the only one I happened to catch, as I was getting ready to record the episode. So there may be others, but that is the one I know for sure. They'll be live streaming. You can go to counton2.com/Murdaugh-trial, and Murdaugh is spelled Murdaugh. And you can watch the trial if you so choose. Even no matter what happens, I mean, just expect to be nonstop coverage for a while. And if we've learned anything from this guy and everything he does, it's going to be wild. So we'll see what happens there. All right, let's move on. Less serious news. So let's talk food and bev. Bonny's Hideaway has closed at 549 King Street, but fret not. This was the plan all along. It was essentially a pop-up concept. It was here for a decent amount of time, but it was set up by the team at Prohibition. They took over 549 King Street. They turned it into Bonny's Hideaway, which was like this pirate-themed, tiki-inspired concept, which unfortunately I never made it out to, but I heard good things. I heard it was fun. But in any event, after doing a pop-up over the holidays, they have finally closed as they continue renovations of the space for the upcoming new concept, which is going to be permanent there. It's called Hazel and Apple. I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, Bonny's Hideaway, they had a successful 6 months on King Street. They finished by hosting the Sip and Santa pop up, which is one of these, national holiday pop ups. There's a few different ones that are out there. They partner with bars and they get the whole place decked out, and it looks like Christmas threw up in a place, basically. So they ended the year with that. But yeah, the team at Prohibition has now partnered with some folks from New York. It's actually the people behind the pretty famous Irish bar called the Dead Rabbit. They are going to transform the space into Hazel and Apple. So, what is Hazel and Apple going to be? According to the team, they're planning on having two separate bars. The front bar will be called the Hazel, while the back bar is going to be called the Apple. The Apple will be will actually open up into like the outdoor patio space that they have there. Not too many other details besides that. They are going to be, quote, an authentic Irish pub, end quote. So we'll see exactly when they open, what it looks like and everything. But they'll be serving food and drinks, of course. They also said when they first announced that this concept was coming back in May, that their decor will include hazelwood and the green and red colors of the apple, plus 4 apple trees on the patio area. So interesting. We'll see, what exactly it is once it opens. So, the details. That's really all there is that's out there. So fortunately, it's tough to know exactly what to expect, but we got a little bit of an idea that's coming here. So things here in Charleston, places close all the time, places open all the time. It's nonstop. But like I said, this was a planned closure. This isn't a staffing or never recovered from the pandemic type thing. This was their plan all along. Was to end this pop up once they had this new concept pretty much ready to roll. So they're renovating the space now, and they plan on opening before too long. But no set date has been announced. I'll certainly keep you posted. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Holy City Center Radio comes out Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to so you don't miss any episodes. Thank you for listening. If you haven't already, please, besides subscribing, please like the podcast, leave a review if your platform lets you do that. All that helps out. You can also help out the podcast by going to holycitycenter.com/shop and buying some merchandise, or going to patreon.com/holycitycenter and signing up for one of those. I also want to say thank you to Lindsay Marie Collins of LMC Sound System for producing each and every episode of Holy City Center Radio, and Tyler Boone, whose music you hear in each episode. Hope you all have a great start to your week. I'll talk to you all on Wednesday. Until then, good night and good luck.